What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to the Bat Cave. I've been threatening to do this for a while, and I've got everything set up. So let me know if you can hear everything okay. I'm working with a $10 microphone and a $50 camera here, so this doesn't look or sound anything like what you're normally accustomed to from the main YouTube studio. But I thought it would be fun to just spend some time listing. I talk about my process and some of the tools that I use and some of the ways I do things pretty regularly, but I've never actually shown anyone what it looks like and kind of what I do. So here we are. Those of you who've been around for a while may recognize some of the backdrop. This is kind of where I used to do my original early episodes of this show before I built out an actual kind of studio. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to spend some time just doing some listings. Again, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I use to kind of keep me on track and how I sort and store and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully you find some of that to be useful. I'm going to hop in here real quick to the chat and say some hellos. Lord Jake Ryan, good morning. Always a pleasure to see you. Jennifer, good morning. Happy early 4th. Yes, absolutely. I hope everybody has a great day off. Are you taking the day off? Let me know in the chat. I actually am planning to work in the morning because I'm a glutton for punishment, but I'll probably do 10 or 15 listings tomorrow morning and then call it a day. Sissy Moore, I made it this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you, Sissy. Thanks for joining. Big Dre, good morning. Always a pleasure. Operani on eBay. I can hear and see great. Perfect. Thank you for that. How fun, the Bat Cave. Yes, it has been. I'm here every day, but you've not been here in quite some time, so this will definitely be a change. Patrick Kehoe, sounds good. Good. There is some music playing too. I've got that turned down fairly low, so let me know if you can hear that or if you want to or don't want to hear that. So, but with that, let's just kind of jump in. I've got my phone hooked up here, I think, and we'll just kind of, actually, let me start with this. So let me show you some of the tools I talk about. I actually have some books available on Amazon KDP that are like daily planners, and I use some of the pages that I've created in some of those to kind of keep me on track. So I talk about this all the time, kind of the goal setting. So this is just a daily calendar, and you can see I've set up kind of daily and weekly goals. Today goal was to do 15 listings and to, of course, do this show. I've been a busy boy this morning. I've already got 10 done, so I've only got 5 to go. Everything else after that will be gravy. So that's kind of the plan for today. Hopefully get through maybe 3 or 4 or 5 today during the next hour as we discuss what I'm doing here and any other questions. And I have my inventory is all stored offsite in a warehouse. And I've talked about how I have boxes and bins and how each one has a label. So what I do every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, depending on how much I've got, I go over there with a notebook and you can see all these different inventory locations. So essentially what these are boxes and bins in my warehouse. And I'll go through and I'll just walk through and look in every bin and see how much space I have left in that bin so that when I'm here working on my listings, I kind of know where I can put things. So what we're going to be doing right now is I'm going to be working on bins 213, 133, and 131. Each of those, when I was over there last, looked like they had room for 6 books in them. So I've got a tub over here on my right, and I just make a little sheet that has those 2 numbers on it. And I'll drop this in between those 2 sets of 6 to keep track of which ones are going in which bin. Then tomorrow morning, I'll take this tub over there, shelve these items, use this tub to pull the items I've got for tomorrow. Well, it won't be orders tomorrow because we can't ship on the 4th, but normally in the morning I would pull orders, come back, and then kind of rinse and repeat. And that's my kind of daily process. Mostly 6 days a week. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. Like I said, I've got my phone set up, so you're going to be able to see exactly what I'm doing, my research, how I take the photos. At least I think the photos piece will show up, and just kind of walk through that process, and we'll see how that goes. So let me clean up this mess a little bit. Real quick, hello, Playroom. Thanks for joining. You can see my phone here, hopefully. And so I've got a tub over here on my left, my kind of workstation here. I've got an overhead softbox light, an extra one that Long story short, I ordered a set of lights. One came without all the necessary parts. When I requested the parts, they sent me a whole new light. So I've got an extra softbox up above and two kind of LED table lamps here that kind of illuminate this space that allows me to get nice, good, well-lit pictures. I've got a tub here on my left of stuff we're going to work. I'm essentially going to bring them up here, do the work. I've got a scale to my right. I'll weigh the item to complete the listing, and then it'll go in this tub. So let's just get to it. Like I said, if you have questions, please leave them in the chat. I will attempt to keep an eye on that as we go through this. So this first book, I'm sure a real page turner, Organic Psychiatry. These are part of a big estate buyout that I did, gosh, probably 6 weeks ago. And these I own for, I think, about 50 cents a piece. So again, if I can get them listed for $5 plus shipping, these are probably things that I'll go ahead and list, but I've not looked at any of these. So let's just get in here and see what we got. If you watch the episode where I kind of walked you through my research process, a lot of this is going to look familiar. Nothing by that author, it looks like. Oops, that's because I said chemistry, because I got chemistry on the brain. A lot of cheap ones here. Let's see if there's any solds. No solds. When I get out of the solds, again, I'm looking at a lot of stuff that is under $10 free shipping. This is a pretty hefty book. This is probably going to be $6 or $7 to ship. So this is probably not worth messing with. So this just gets set off to the side to get donated. Next up, neuropsychological assessment. Let's see if we fare any better with this one. I should have pre-sorted these so I knew I had some stuff to list. There's another one, 777 free shipping. This is another fairly heavy book, so this is another one that I would probably pass on trying to list. There's a few in the $10 to $12 range, but there's enough sitting there already on eBay that this thing would probably just sit here forever. Probably not worth the time or trouble. Let me hop back in here to the chat real quick. Black Cat Flips, good morning. Thanks for coming out. Good to see you. Since old books have an odor, how do you avoid the odor being magnified when stored in a closed tub? Most of my tubs are not actually closed. I leave them open. They don't have lids on them. The boxes are all open so that they can air out while they're sitting in the warehouse. So usually if there's any kind of a strong odor, I will note that in the description, particularly if it's a musty odor or a cigarette smoke odor. Those two in particular seem to really bother people. Kind of the stale book scent, I really don't get any complaints on that. So I usually don't even mention that unless it's particularly strong. But in most cases, I'm only really concerned about musty, mildewy type odors and smoke. Operating on eBay, so you're searching by title and not ISBN. No, I do not use ISBNs on eBay. I've talked about this actually quite a bit. The ISBN catalog on eBay is all but useless. There is so much incorrect information on there, wrong publishing dates, sometimes wrong publishers, wrong titles, especially with paperbacks. It is almost useless. So I very rarely will scan a book to do with eBay because the information that pulls with that ISBN is almost always wrong. You also have the issue with, if you try to correct it, it deletes the ISBN anyway. So you have to go in and say not applicable. So I just skip that altogether. If I was listing on Amazon, obviously I would use that, and I have a little more faith in their ISBN system. But on eBay, it's all but broken. Playroom, I don't know why you and Drew don't get more viewers. You're so much more chill and normal and steady. And actually news, I try to be fairly even-handed. People just like the hype clickbait, I guess. Prefer no canned music, though. All right, fair enough. Yeah, I try to be fairly objective with when I'm covering the news. Obviously, I give you my opinion, whether I think something is useful or a bad idea, or if things are going wrong. But I'm not trying to just get views by blowing up and say, burn the house down, eBay is awful. My feeling is these platforms allow us an opportunity to do this for a living as opposed to having a real job. So I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt unless they do something really egregious. But I do appreciate that. Let's check this one. Moving back on to some listing here. These, let's search by hardcover just for fun. It's another one, $5 and $6 book with free shipping. Doesn't make sense to worry about. Pathways in Neurological Diagnosis. We got nothing on that, at least with that author name attached. Let's take the author out. Still got nothing. So we'll go over to my friends here at Abe Books and see if we fare any better over here. $8, $6 in the UK plus shipping. So this is essentially probably a $7.99 book. I'll list it for $7.99 or best offer with an offer of $5. So let's go ahead and do this. Since there isn't one actually in eBay, I'm going to go to selling, obviously, and list an item. This is a textbook, I think. That's what we're going to call it anyway. For whatever reason, when you put in textbook, the mobile app at least always defaults to study guides and test prep, which is not really what I want here. This is what I'm going to call an actual textbook. So you got to go in and change that. I know there's no match. This looks to be in. Always want to make sure that there's no notes or highlighting. I don't see anything. I'm going to call this very good condition. This is pretty clean. And then you can just go in here and take photos. I always go to the 1x1. Gotta focus it a little better here. If there's no writing on the cover, I will usually start with a picture of the spine. Sometimes there's nothing really there, and then I'll use the title page. But I'll just go around and kind of shoot kind of every angle of this book. So all the sides, the front, the back. If there's any particular damage, I'll try to do that as well. If there's any writing on the board or the front end paper and page, I will take a picture of that. There is not, so I'm going to skip it and go straight to the title page. Take a picture of that. Sorry, it's turning my phone sideways there. Published in 1980. And then I'll take a few pictures of just sample pages so that a potential buyer has some idea of what this is going to look like. If there's illustrations, I always want to make sure that they get a picture of the illustrations as well so that they don't have to just take my word for it, that it's illustrated. If there are notes or highlighting, I always take a picture of that as well. For a book like this, I think 12 pictures is probably sufficient. 6 on the outside, 6 on the inside. And you wait for those to load, which sometimes takes a bit. And we go to our title. I'm going to clear out textbook. I don't really want that. It's John, yeah. So again, I try to cover kind of the high points. So I got the title, the author, the date it was published, the fact that it's illustrated, and that it's a hardcover. If I've got room left, I'll usually try to do the publisher as well. This was Edward Arnold, which I think may fit. Yeah, so it's all in there with one character to spare. So awesome. That works perfectly. I'm going to copy that so I can use it for this other stuff. I've already got my condition, so we're going to go in here to author. Publication name, I'm just going to paste that in and delete what I don't need. I'm going to skip the subject area because it's neurology. Again, the publisher. There are so many publishers that just don't show up in eBay's format. So I always put in the language. Somebody asked me, might have been Sissy, asked me the other day if I fill out a lot of these item specifics. As you can see, I do fill out quite a few of these. If there is a series involved, I would do that. It is illustrated. I've got that's already checked. Number of pages. Sometimes I will put that in, sometimes I don't. I only put in the actual numbered pages. I don't worry about the preface pages. So this has got 124. Oops. So there is an ISBN number printed on the back of this, but again, I don't use these because it will pull information into the listing and delete the stuff that I've already put in, which I don't want to have happen. So for ISBN, I just check does not apply. Again, I almost never use the ISBN. Maybe that's a bad thing, but I would rather have the information that is actually in this book that I know is right than what eBay puts into the listing, which I can verify just by looking at the book and know it's wrong. My custom SKU, I'm doing 213-133. So when this thing sells, I'll know where to go to pull it. Now we go back down here to the description. I'm just going to paste in exactly what was in my title. If there's anything else that I want to add about the book, the publisher, anything that I wasn't able to fit in there, this is where I will do it. I don't put in a lot of other descriptors. I don't try to describe what the book is about or any of that. I don't use the AI description because for me, it just puts in a bunch of irrelevant kind of marketing gobbledygook, which I don't think works. So, but I will describe the condition. This is very good with minimal shelf wear as shown. You can see on the mobile, I've got all those kind of autofill things, so I can really quickly kind of blast through this. Shipped with USPS Media Mail. So that takes care of that. We're going to go down to our pricing, which I said was going to be $7.99. I am going to take offers. For the minimum acceptable offer, I'll do $5. I'm only into this thing for about 50 cents, so $5 is pretty good. Shipping, I've got my scale here. It's got a padded envelope on it already, so I know exactly what I'm going to have with this thing packed and ready to go. It's going to be about 14 ounces. It'll probably fit in a 12 by 9 by 1. List your item and then wait. And we are done. That's kind of the process. When I'm not talking about it and trying to explain it, I can do that obviously much more quickly. So that goes in the tub and we'll be on to the next one. Let me get back in here into the chat. And Brandy, I love the fact that you have not pre-sorted the pile of books for today. This really is a day in the life. It is. That's what I did. I was much more fortunate last week. Kind of when I did the research episode, I hadn't pre-sorted those either, but most of them were really good. I'm kind of down now to some big bulk buy stuff where I had segregated out all of the best stuff, and I'm now kind of in the weeds a little bit with some stuff that may or may not be all that great. So TRB, hey Tom, good to see you. Thanks for coming out. Mobile eBay for the win. That's all I use. Yeah, and this is just one example. I get a lot of people that say, how do you list on the mobile? I always use the desktop. And again, like I always say, there's multiple ways to skin a cat in reselling. What the products you sell, the platforms you sell on, the way you list. This is just, for me, super convenient. I can do everything right from the app, right from sitting here. I don't have to like upload pictures and move on to something else and move things around and do drafts. I can just knock it all out in, boom, 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 and I'm done and I'm on to the next one. When you're trying to do 80, 100, 120 listings a week, I need that process to be as efficient as possible, unless I want to spend 10 hours a day doing listings, which is not part of my plan. So that's why I do this. Can you please explain the difference between a paperback book versus a trade paperback? I just list them as paperback. So, right, this is, I don't know if you can see it. This is a trade paperback. So this has, if you look at the cover, it's a much heavier, much thicker cover. Trade paperbacks are, generally speaking, are also larger. Like this is probably a 6x8 as opposed to something more like this. For instance, this would just be a paperback. It's a fairly lightweight cover and it's a smaller book. This happens to be a digest, but the same kind of concept. If you list a trade paperback like this as a paperback, I don't think you'll get yourself in any kind of a problem. If you list a regular paperback, however, as a trade paperback, you will potentially get some pushback from the buyer because they expect that the trade paperback has a more substantial cover. Generally, they're also higher gloss, where the traditional kind of mass market paperbacks are more of a matte flat finish. So those are the kind of things to look for. It's typically larger, it's a heavier stock on the cover, and it's generally a glossy cover. And those are the easiest ways to tell. When in doubt, I would just list it as a paperback to avoid any trouble. As I always say, under promise, over deliver. If I call a regular paperback a trade paperback, someone is going to be expecting something different than they got. So just listing as paperback is always safe, in my opinion. Operating on eBay, do you ever include a measuring tape in the photos? The only time I do that is on like the pocket-sized books or something that is obviously a really unusual size, something that's really, really small. I've only once have I had an issue where I had it was a book kind of like this, a trade paperback, but there were multiple versions of it. And there were two different sizes that were published, which I had no idea that was the case. And the buyer got it and they were expecting the slightly larger size. So if I'd had a tape measure or I'd put the measurements in, that probably would have helped on that one. That ended up being a return, which was fine. It sold again right away anyway, so no problems. But yeah, only on the really small books will I show like a tape measure next to it, just to give them an idea. A lot of times, if you noticed, as I was taking those pictures, kind of my fingers, as I'm holding the pages down, will show up in the photo, which I don't mind. I know a lot of sellers don't like that, but it does two things. One, it gives a sense of scale because you can kind of see my hand relative to the book. And two, it obviously proves that I have this book in hand. It's not a stock photo. I'm not trying to pull any shenanigans. Here's the book. Here's my hand. This is really here in my possession kind of thing. So I know a lot of sellers don't like that, but I absolutely do not mind that at all. Callie Debs, good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for coming out. Excess package. So neat to see your process and space. The space is a little messy. If you're looking over my shoulder here, I recycle pretty much all the cardboard. So everything I get in, the boxes that my bubble mailers come in and all that, I just set them off to the side here and cut them up to use as stiffeners. For instance, like this book, again, to go back to this is not a hardcover, so it's got some flex in it. So when I ship this, I'll cut out a piece of cardboard to roughly the size of this. I'll wrap this in newsprint. I don't know if you can see on the table behind me, there's a stack of newsprint, just plain white, clear newsprint. I'll wrap this thing, put the cardboard on it, tape that cardboard stiffener to that outer wrap that I put on it before I put this in a bubble mailer. So I'm constantly recycling all of that cardboard, which is what that messy pile of stuff is over there. Thanks for coming out. Operating on eBay, do you include the ISBN in the description so that it will be a keyword? I do not. I don't do anything with ISBNs at all. I've never searched by ISBN on eBay. I don't know how well that works. If you've done that, let me know in the chat. It's not something that I do. Again, when I do try to search by ISBN, sometimes I get all kinds of random answers. Let's just for fun, let's look at this one. Since we're here and we're talking about it, I'll watch this and it'll be perfect, but so you can see right off the bat here, I've got two different covers. I've got this pink one and I've got this blue one. They both can't be the same edition and the same barcode. So right off the bat, I'm going to have probably some differences. Let's look. This one is close to mine. They have it listed as a trade paperback. They have the publisher as Lippincott. So here's one. These are the ones that cause me to not use the ISBN. And you could probably get away with this, but this book is actually published by the J.B. Lippincott Company. But this ISBN returns the newest version of that company, which is Lippincott, Williams, and Wilkins, which happened post a couple of mergers. Personally, I don't like that. That is not the actual publisher of this particular book. This was published by J.B. Lippincott, not by the new version of that company. It does have the date correct, which sometimes is also a problem. This says it has 1,020 pages. That is right. So this one's actually not too bad, but it does have the wrong publisher on it. Again, so I would probably not use that just because it is not 100% correct. And if I go in, if I do like a sell similar and change the publisher to the correct publisher of this particular book, it's going to delete the ISBN anyway. So again, that's my personal take on the ISBNs over on eBay. What do you do for a custom SKU on Mercari? I don't actually put it in. And the reason for that is I pull everything based on eBay. So when I get a sale on Mercari or on Etsy, the first thing I do is I go into eBay and end that item, which puts it into my unsold list. And then when I go to pull, I open up my unsold listings on the phone. I don't think I have any right now, but let's just look. Actually, I got a whole bunch, but I don't think I have any current ones. Yeah, I don't have anything right now, but that would then show me that SKU. So I will just pull off of the eBay app. So an order comes in on Mercari. Etsy does show the custom SKU, so I could use that, but I just go into eBay immediately, end the item. It goes into my unsolds, and then when I'm pulling items, I pull my solds, and then I go to the unsold tab, and then I pull those. That will show me the custom SKUs. That way I'm not pulling off of 3 different apps. I'm pulling all off of one. I've already ended the item, so I don't have to worry about duplicate selling it over on eBay. I will also do that on Etsy. I'll go in and delete it, and that way I know. So I don't load a custom SKU to Mercari because I never pull from Mercari from that app. Excess package. I think adding the ISBN is important because people will scan books and try to find them. I do understand that eBay's catalog is inaccurate. Use Vendu to list and never run into that issue. Yeah, almost all of them have some sort of error. And it just, again, I guess I would prefer my listing to be as accurate as possible. And if the ISBN is incorrect or is pulling some incorrect information, and again, that's just my business decision. I've elected not to use those. To be fair, I don't sell a lot of books with ISBNs anyway. This is kind of an unusual circumstance. Most of my books are vintage, which predates ISBN, which eliminates that altogether for me. But Better Health Blessings, good morning. Thanks for coming out. Have Henry forwarded my process with comping, cleaning, photos, and listing. Yeah, that whatever system you set up that is assembly line efficient, works for you to be able to allow you to get the most done in the most reasonable amount of time, whatever that system looks like, is the one that's best for you. I'm still old school, can't use my phone, computer, and camera, and that's totally fine. Like I said, there's a lot of people I know that do it that way and are completely comfortable with that. It does affords you the opportunity to take a bunch of pictures and then go back later and you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix and you can pull some drafts and you can do some listings. The photos are all right there. So there are some advantages to that. I like to get this done and by 2 or 3 o'clock kind of call it a day and then not have to worry about it after that. So that's kind of why I went to this process. How many hours a day do you think you're working on average? So part of the reason I went into reselling was to take control of my time. I wanted to be able to do things. I think I told the story. I was selling cars. I was sitting in the dealership at, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock on a sunny August day, and I wanted to be anywhere but in that office. And I started looking for things to do, and I discovered reselling. And I looked at the kind of work process I could set up, and that would give me that flexibility of time. So normally I'm up by maybe 6:30 or 7 in the morning. And I'm down here, I'm pulling and packing orders and doing that kind of stuff. I'll come down here and do some listings. I might work until 2 o'clock and then I kind of call it quits from there and I go do the things that I want to do. So I might be working 6 or 7 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And then I always work Saturday morning as well, at least probably until noon, doing listings and shipping orders. Days I go out sourcing, those days are longer. Sometimes those end up being 8, 10, 12-hour days. On average, I'm probably working 40 or 45 hours a week over the course of the full week. Some days it might be 5 or 6 hours, and some days it might be 10 to 12. So I don't know that there's an average day. But on a day like today, I woke up early because I couldn't sleep. I was up at 5:30. I was down here by 6, got some listings done, got my shipments done. We'll wrap this up by 12 or 12:30. I'll get some lunch, finish up my listings, and by 2 o'clock, I'll be done for the day. Patrick Keogh, thank you for the explanation. Absolutely. I support that under promise and over deliver. In my opinion, customer service needs to be #1 priority for success. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be as accurate as possible. And when in doubt, I always err on the side of caution and kind of undersell what I've got. Just got a cha-ching. Do you join any reseller live chats? I have been to a few. I try to go to actually a hat tip to Regina Michelle and Derek Fundamentals. I'm going to be on their show, the Hump Day Hangout on July 17th. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. So mark your calendars for that. I am going to be actually on their show. That's one that I try to get to when I'm not out doing music trivia. But yeah, I try to catch a few of those shows. Was at Bearded Pickers Live before this, and after this, around 12, I'll join Primo Chemo's reseller live chat. Yeah, there are a ton of great channels out there where you can pick up tips and tricks and bolos and just get all kinds of information and see how different people do kind of the same task. Like we just talked about with Sissy. She does photos and lists on the computer, where I'm doing everything within like an 8 square foot space solely using my phone. So there's so many different things you can learn and different things you can see by visiting other people's channels. Still surprised that they've not brought the video option to mobile yet, and that it's locked into desktop. Yeah, that's something. Given the issues that they had with their live thing with Elton John, maybe their video component's just not ready for prime time yet. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I think that might be the last one there. So let's get back to listing. We looked this one up and it didn't look particularly great. So I'm going to skip that one for now. And let's go to this, the 1976 Yearbook of Psychiatry and Applied Mental Health. And again, these are just random. This was I went through this sale. I talk about that process quite a bit. I went through the sale. I spent probably an hour or 90 minutes there, kind of going through what was out on the tables in the garage, and I picked out the ones that I knew were valuable, that I wanted, and kind of left everything there and left my card. They called me when the sale was over and said, hey, we've got whatever it was. I think it ended up being 350 books left if you want to come get them. They gave me a price, and I went out and just bought them all. Kind of, obviously I had seen what they were, so I had some idea of kind of the genres and whatnot, but I didn't know specifically what the value of them was going to be. So that's kind of where we ended up with this kind of mishmash of stuff here. I'm not going to put the year in on this one right to start, because I just want to see, are there many of these out there from any year, and what's the value of them? So right off the bat, we're kind of starting at about 20 bucks and then going really, really high on some of those other ones. Then we get into the UK and they get maybe a little more reasonable. So let's look at some solds. I'm going to guess that there probably are not any. Huh, what do you know? You'd think I'd been doing this a while. Let's try it with the date, with the year, just to see. I didn't see anything, but no, nothing there. So let's hop back over here to Abe Books again. See, so there we go. There's one, $10.58 with free shipping. So this is probably $5 to ship. There weren't any of this particular one listed on eBay. I'll probably take a gamble on this. We'll list this thing for like $7.99 plus shipping, again with the best acceptable offer of $5. That'll put me kind of competitive with what's going on over at Abe Books, and I'll be the only one on eBay that even has this at all. I do price kind of to the market, so I look at what they're selling for over on Abe. I'm not going to go look at Amazon. I've got 2 reference points already, eBay and Abe. Amazon, if there is one, if it's more money, I've still got an outlier over there of $11 with free shipping, and that's the one I'm trying to compete with, because I'm not trying to collect these. I just want to get rid of it. So let's get in here and get this thing listed. I'm going to use this one just as kind of the starting point for my listing, even though it's not my book, but it's close. There's going to be enough information in there that I can cheat from to get started with a listing. Again, I'm going to do all my 12 photos. No writing on it. Always take a picture of the title page and the copyright page. Sometimes I'll take a picture of the table of contents. I don't think there's probably any illustrations in this, so I'm not going to have to worry about that. Again, if there's writing on the front boards or the end papers, or there's any damage there, I will take pictures of that, but in this case, there are not. I'm also going to call this book very good condition. It's really clean. So again, 12 photos. Clear out the stuff that does not apply to me. Put the date in because that's what this starts with, 1976 Yearbook of Psychiatry and Applied Mental Health. I see a lot of people that edit the titles of the book to put in the title of their eBay listing. I don't do that. I don't understand why you would do that. I get leaving out words like the and a at the beginning. But even with that, sometimes I find if I search with and without that, I do get different results. So I try to put in the title exactly as I see it on the book without any editing if I can, if it fits. Sometimes they don't fit, but for the most part, for me, that's the best way to do it. That's already obviously got the date. This is a hardcover. This has got multiple authors, so I'm not going to put the authors in here. Yearbook medical publishers probably will not fit in what's left, so I'm just going to run with that. They've got it listed as a textbook. I'm going to go ahead and go with that. You probably could put it in just as a regular book, but again, you might get away with calling this like new, but there is a little bit of tanning along the edges. There's some age-related discoloration that would keep me from calling this like new, but I would call it very good. If it had much more than this, I would probably downgrade it to good, but this book is super clean. All right. So for author, again, I could type in all of these, but there are way more than I want to mess with. So I'm going to call this mixed authors. On regular books, that is actually an option on eBay, so you can do that. This is actually the 1976 yearbook. So I'm going to put that in. We'll see if it fits. Publication year, I need to change that because again, remember I copied a listing that was from 2006, so I need to make some changes. It is a hardcover. This has a different publisher, so I'm going to clear that out. Was it Yearbook Medical Publishers? Yep. I'm going to take the series out. There's no special features. There's no illustrations. There's no signatures. There's nothing special on this book. So I'm going to delete these measurements because they're based on his book. I'm not going to measure this book because it's essentially going to be a $6 book. A little overkill. The ISBN I know is wrong because it's the wrong book, but I don't, again, that's just me. I'm not going to pull that information over. Custom SKU. Description, I am going to add the publisher in here. Called this very good with minimal shelf wear and whoops, light tanning of page edges. Ship with, again, media mail. It'll be a buy it now of $7.99 with a $5 offer. Again, it's a 50-cent cost to me, so $5 even after the fees, I'll make a little bit of money on it. It'll be 1 pound, 15 ounces. This is a 12 by 9 by 2. And list. I was trying to get 5 of these done, but I've been talking too much. I've only got 2. We're at 45 minutes here already, and that one is up. So let me go back here again into this chat. Brian Resells Infinity, what's up? Thanks for coming out. To see more, you can always start it on mobile just to get quick picks and save it as a draft, then come back to it on desktop to finish. Yep, a lot of people do that. That way you've got a draft already saved as opposed to having to upload pictures. I can't remember if eBay has an option where you can pull pictures from your mobile to the desktop. somebody let me know in the chat if that is a thing. I know Facebook lets you do that. If there's a couple listing on A-Books, would you price competitively with the lowest price one, or would you price a little higher, include best offer? So it depends on where the pricing breaks down. So let's say, for instance, on that book, there's none on eBay of that particular year at all. And if I went to A-Books and there was the one there for $10.58, and then the next one was, let's say $19.99 plus shipping, I would probably split the difference. I'd probably list for 12 or 13 bucks plus shipping, with an acceptable offer of maybe 8 or 9 that would get me kind of in the range of the least expensive one there. There were no pictures of that item over on A-Books. So if someone's looking at mine, I've got 12 photos. I've got arguably a more attractive listing. So I think I could probably get a little bit of a premium. Honestly, I could probably charge a little more for that book I just listed. I could probably put it at $10.99 and $8 and get away with it. But there's no sales of any of those yearbooks. So I'm trying to price that particularly low in the hopes that somebody will make a move on it. I think the lowest price one we saw was starting at 20 bucks with free shipping, but there's no sales in the recent history of it. So I'm pricing it cheap just to try to unload it. it $9.99. I assume you're talking about the book I just did there. Yeah, again, like I just said, you could probably get away with $10.99 plus shipping with a best offer, and have as good a chance as you can have of moving a book where there's no real sales history in the recent term. I did not go back to product research to see if there's any sales over the last 3 years. My guess would be there probably were not many. Just guessing, but it's hard to say. So let's see, we're at 50 minutes. We probably got time for one more here. Let's do a really old one. So this was part of the big antique book lot that I just picked up. This is Josephus. This is from $18.59. This is the works of Flavius Josephus. These books usually do pretty well, kind of in any of the vintage categories, but this is a pretty old version of this book from 1859. So let's see what we get here. I'm just going to start with this just to see if we come up with anything. No matches. Whoops, that's because I got too many numbers in there. This is close to the one I've got. Seven dissertations. Let's see. It's a different publisher. This is 3 dissertations, so it's a slightly different book. So let's look again. Whitson is the guy who translated this. Whiston, actually. I want to look specifically in antique. Here's one from 1993 listed as an antique and collectible book. Usually I try to avoid that. If they're 1980s or newer, unless it's particularly rare and collectible, I won't put it in that category. We're in 35. I still don't see anything exactly like mine. We're into 50, now 60, still really not anything. That's different. And this is legitimately the process that I would go through trying to figure out what I want to do with this book. So we're anywhere from $50 to well over $100. Let's look at some solds and see what we got here, if anything. And a lot of 45 to 75, upwards of 100, but those are mostly kind of like full sets. I think I'm going to do like $59.99 on this with the best offer of 50 and just see what happens with it. This is a close one, so let's do sell one like this. So let me know if you're still here in the chat. What would you grade this book based on kind of what you're seeing from the pictures and knowing what you know about the age of this? On antique books, eBay doesn't actually have a place to put in a condition. I always put it down in the item description itself, not because you can't put it in the item specifics. But see, this has got quite a bit of the foxing, the little kind of moisture related staining and dots. Sorry, I'm going sideways with the phone here, but easier for me to handle that way. And again, I'm just taking pictures of some sample pages. I'm not seeing any illustrations. Oh, there's one. So it is illustrated. And again, I'm going to take a picture of both the front and the end boards and the end papers because there is foxing on them. Hop back over here into this chat real quick. Use the AI description to get a quick and much longer description that has a bunch of keywords in it. Okay, yeah, I don't, because there's the verbiage on the AI listings is just clearly not human. When I'm reading them, I don't like the way they come out. They do fill in some keywords, but it's not, again, like I talk about, every business is different, and you can do what you think is the most helpful for your business. I'm just not knocked out by what the AI generates at this point. Operating on eBay, this is so helpful. I have a lot of vintage books that are not listed on eBay, not even on Terapeak, but A-Books is a great idea. Yeah, you'll at least get some idea. There are some books that I go and look over there and they don't even have any, which is pretty unusual, to be fair. But yeah, that's another good resource. If I can't find anything there, I'll pop over to Amazon. Sometimes I end up just doing a Google search and seeing if anything pops up that is at least similar to what I have. So there's a lot of places you can go. P. Diddy T-Tube, good to see you, man. I don't think you've been to a live. Nice to catch you live and see the real backdrop. You do list fast on your phone, so I can see why you do it. I type pretty fast, so it's much easier for me on desktop. I hope sales are great. Like I talked about in the Monday podcast, June was a record June, so it's been pretty good. Clearly, summer slowdown, June and July. I looked back just for the fun of it over the 5 years I've been doing this, and historically, those 2 months are my slowest 2 months every single year. So the fact that I'm outperforming the same month year over year over year, even though it's not the level of what I did in April and May, makes me actually pretty pleased. So I hope everybody else's sales are doing well as well. But yeah, having that autofill thing, because I use kind of the same description on all of them. I describe the condition, I describe how I'm going to ship it, and all that is already in there. So I don't even have to type it out. I'm just literally hitting the autofill 6, 8, 10 times. and boom, the description is finished for me. Says more, I did the photos one time and then had to go back and delete one by one. Then I did it another time and downloaded to my computer, and every photo I had on my phone came with it and deleted from my phone. So yeah, technology can be challenging. Getting this whole rigmarole set up, I wanted to do this like a month ago, and I just couldn't get it working right. Hopefully this has been passable quality. Obviously, like I said, it's a $10 mic and a $50 camera, so it's not what I'm accustomed to. But yeah, technology is definitely challenging. Brian resells Infinity. All right, guys, me out. Bye. Thanks for coming by. I say as you're probably already gone, but that's all right. My wife lists 5 items a day, and I list on my off days, weekends, and Monday, usually books, sewing machines, typewriters, DVD players, CD changers, the stuff she doesn't like to list. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I got out of electronics for the most part. Every now and then I'll grab one, but I don't like testing them. I feel like I can be more productive getting half a dozen or 10 books up in the same amount of time it would take me to test and clean up a piece of electronics. So that's kind of how I gravitated towards this rather than that. Bruce Johnson, thank you for the live chat and all your content. I do all selling through the eBay app, which they offered a way to start sale events on the app. Besides that, it's been a great tool. They keep talking about adding more and more and more features to the eBay app. I know right now they're really focused on the desktop, the marketing and promotions tab over there. But hopefully they will eventually bring that to mobile, because yes, that would be really, really helpful. Operating on eBay, would this be a good condition description? Decent condition considering the age of this book. You essentially read my mind. This would be one that I would probably list as good considering the age, or I might list it as acceptable, bordering on good given its age. So either one of those leaves you a little bit of wiggle room. It's obviously got some shelfware, but everything is attached. The binding seems pretty strong. It does have some foxing and some tanning, but you would expect that from a book that's 170 years old, roughly. So this would be right on the border for me. Good, acceptable. I will probably list this acceptable, bordering on good, but I do that the other way as well. Acceptable or good, or is it different for older books like that? Again, like I just said, I try to grade them all the same, whether it's old or new, but I will make a notation with this that grading maybe is based on its age. If this was a book from, say, 1995, this would be acceptable because it's pretty rough. But for a book that's from 1859, that's something altogether different. And I think buyers would consider that. Now, if you were a quote unquote professional bookseller selling on a site like Aid Books, where they rate books as near fine and use the actual kind of book selling terminology, this would not qualify probably for any of that. But eBay's grading system doesn't really allow for that level of detail. So again, acceptable, bordering on good, or good considering the age. I think either one of those would probably be acceptable. Let's see if we can finish this. Where was I? Gosh, just all my photos here. All right, so on that cover, it just says Josephus, but on the inside, it does say the works of Flavius Josephus, the Jewish. But that's a little different, so I'm going to clear some of this out. I do not do the all caps thing, so I'm going to change all of that. I think eBay has even said that all caps, they don't like that, so I always change everything if I can. In that case, it won't autofill. Doesn't recognize that as a word, I guess. Out of space. Oops. There's more that will show up in the actual item description that's not going to fit in the title, but that gives me enough of the actual title that I think anybody that's searching for it would potentially see this listing. And I am going to put the date in. Oops, if I could type. Man, I am butchering this one. I don't have enough room here to get in hardcover unless I take this out. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to take that out. Publisher, especially on these older books, can be really, really important because a lot of these will be very unusual. This is the H.M. Rulison Company from right here in the Cincinnati area. So here again on antique books, it only allows you to put in one author. Where on regular books and textbooks, you can put in multiple authors. In this case, I'm going to put in two. I'm going to put in Flavius Josephus because he wrote the actual works. And I'm also going to put in this William Whiston as the editor. And I'll just separate him with a comma. I don't know really if that's helpful in search or not, but so that has both of them. So if somebody at least is looking at the item specifics, they can see both who, obviously the title of the book is Josephus, but that's the author. So I want to put that in there, but this is the Whiston translation. So I always put that in as well. I'm going to call this leather because this is a leather hardcover. I described it as hardcover in the title, but I'm going to go ahead and call it leather in the item specifics. There was illustrations, so we're going to do that. It is in English. This is an original. I don't think there's an illustrator listed, but if there is, I'm going to put it in there. There is not. Place of publication. Here printed, I want to have that in there. So again, you can see I do fill out a lot of these. ISBN obviously does not qualify. Way too old for that. I'm putting kind of the full title into the item description. Got 3 dissertations. This is complete in 1 volume, it says, so I'm going to put that in as well. It is illustrated, so I'm going to add that. It's a leather hardcover, so I'm going to add that as well. And just for giggles, even though it is in the item specifics, I'm going to put in the publisher. Because this is a really old book, I'm going to give them as much information as I think I can. I'm going to call this acceptable ordering on good considering the age. shelfware, light tanning, and foxing of pages as shown. I'm going to add C photos in this one to remind them to go look at the pictures if they have questions. Shipped with USPS Media Mail. This one I am going to actually ship in a box. So I'm going to add that to my description as well, because I'm going to give this a little bit special treatment, because I'm going to list it a little bit higher price. We're going to do $59.99. I could probably get away with $69, but I'm going to do $59 and $50. Plus again, our shipping. It's 2 pounds one, plus the box. I'm going to call it 2 pounds and 14 ounces. It'll definitely be under 3 pounds. The box will probably be a 14 by 10 by 4. That, my friends, is going to be that. And that one is done. Back here into this chat. Media Picker here, but late. Welcome. Yeah, you are running late today. Right about the time I'm normally giving up the ghost on this thing. Operating on eBay about the all caps. I read somewhere that using all caps in the title risks not showing up in a regular Google search. There you go. Yeah, I don't do that. I see a lot of times, like if on the cover of the book title is in all caps, it seems like people want to use all caps in their eBay listing title, and I avoid all caps in my listing titles really at all costs. Big Dree, if there's anything wrong with an item, I will put damaged first in the title to avoid cancellations, and so they make sure to look over the photos and read the description of the flaws. Yeah, a lot of times if I've got an item that is not working, like an electronics item, for instance, I'll put in at the end of the title, see description or see DESC, something like that to alert them that they need to go read specifically what might be going on with this thing. I will almost always, again, on electronics, if there is an issue, it's as is, no returns, and I'll squeeze that into the listing title as well for that very reason, so that I don't have a buyer who thinks that this item just based on the title, because we all know buyers will do that. They'll find an item, they'll look at the title, they'll look at the first picture in the listing and say, yeah, this is the one, and you're selling an as is for parts only thing, and they think they're buying a new one. So Wendy Boo, thanks so much. I've passed up so many good books because I was intimidated to learn how to list. Absolutely. That's why I have this channel. Hopefully it helps people figure out I am no professional bookseller. My experience with books is that I'm a book nerd. I love books. I love reading, but I'm not a guy who owns a antique bookstore. These are just the things that I've kind of learned over 5 years of doing this. A lot of trial and error. Kind of working through the process and figuring out what works. And to be fair, what works on eBay might not work on Amazon. I know, Operandi, I think you asked me in the comment of another video about selling on Amazon. And like I've talked about here, I don't sell on Amazon. I did years ago, back in the early 2000s when I had my record and CD store. I sold new and mostly used CDs on Amazon. And over the years, it's just gotten more and more difficult to kind of jump through the hoops on Amazon. The fees have gotten higher. The requirements and the restrictions have gotten more restrictive. And it's just, for me, had reached a point where the juice was no longer worth the squeeze. I have no doubt that I'm leaving money on the table. But like I said 45 minutes ago in this live, one of the reasons I started doing this was to take control of my time and have kind of a more low stress environment. And I just feel like adding Amazon to my mix would increase my stress level, number one, and increase my workload. If List Perfectly ever added the ability to cross-post with their software to Amazon, I might consider revisiting it, because that would really take out a pain point. But right now, I would have to essentially manually list everything over on Amazon to do it. And for me, it's just not worth the additional money, even though I know there's probably quite a bit of money to be made over there. It's just not something I would consider doing at this point. So again, Your mileage may vary. Everybody has, I know plenty of sellers. If you're interested in seeing content from a couple of sellers that do very well with Amazon and with Amazon FBA, go check out Katie Reeds and Golden State Picker. Both of them do Amazon FBA and will have videos and content about their process and how they do it and kind of what the downsides are. So go check them out again. It's Katie Reeds and Golden State Picker. They both have really terrific content and they both have some Amazon specific stuff. So if you want to see some sellers who are doing it and how and what kind of results they're getting, those would be two channels that I would strongly recommend going to check out. So we got pretty close here today. I think I did 3. I was hoping to do 5. So not too bad. Hopefully, again, some of you already mentioned that this was helpful. Hopefully seeing this process helped. We'll probably do this sort of thing maybe every 5 or 6 weeks. I'll come back over here to the Batcave if I don't have a particular topic that I want to talk about. Just again, to refresh potential new viewers and show you kind of what's going on and look at my process and look at some of the stuff that I'm in the process of listing. Again, I've got coming up on 11,000 listings. So efficiency for me was really key, and having a system where I could do this as quickly as possible and get the information in led me through some trial and error to come up with kind of the system that I've got here. So hopefully you did find this helpful. I'm gonna pause this music here. Yeah, there we go. And useful. If you did, if you haven't already, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. I would very much appreciate that. And with that, until next time, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys.